Kia ora koutou. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 36 of the Mighty Only a Podcast. Say hello, Captain.
Hello, Captain.
How you doing? You all right?
You're fine now? Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. We've got so many things to go through today. Will we fit them all in? Well, I'm not really sure, but we're going to look at some new albums. I'm going to advise you of one that can be downloaded for nothing. Downloads? Remember those MP3s?
Oh, yeah. Good days. Flax.
Those kind of things. Yeah. We've got another Downsizing episode from one of our listeners. We've got some recommendations to make online as usual. We've got, what else have we got? We've got books. I've got a couple of people to say goodbye to as usual. I've got a fun fact. We're going to talk about possibly the return of a wonderful band that we all know. So let's get on with it. Gov.
Yeah, well, let's do that. All right, I'll start, shall I? So I'll start off with our Downsizing for new listeners, viewers. Downsizing is the thing where, imagine you've just been sent to a tiny little house and you've got no room to store anything. You've got no streaming services, so you're only allowed one movie, one TV box set, one album and one book. So we've had another one come in from Tricky. That's Tricky1957 on Instagram. Hello, Tricky. And here's Tricky's choices. So for a book, Catch-22.
Yeah.
A classic. Appears on all those classic lists. Quite a divisive book, I think. I don't know what your views on it are. I've got halfway through it 3 or 4 times myself. It's one of those.
I've read that. I read it quite a long time ago now, but it certainly keeps you thinking.
Yeah.
And if you've got time to spend, and it's the only book you've got, it's probably a really good choice.
Keep you going. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, for a film, Casablanca.
Absolute classic.
Yeah. I don't know. It's quite interesting with old stuff because you remember it being brilliant. But if you haven't watched it or listened to it or whatever for a long time, because I've done this quite recently with an old film. What was it? Life of Brian. It was Life of Brian.
Oh, yeah.
Which, one of my all-time favourite films, and I've watched it 100 times. I could probably, recite it word for word, but I hadn't seen it for a few years. Then I watched it and I was like, this isn't making me laugh. Yeah, I don't know why that was, but it just didn't hit home.
I mean, personal choice and all that. And times do change. I do think that's what I can drag out from my own experience is High Fidelity.
Yeah.
The John Cusack version of Nick Hornby's novel.
Yep.
And the novel itself, to be honest, when I read it relatively recently, they just irritated the hell out of me, these people. I just wanted to slap them around a bit. So maybe it was the time.
Maybe it was quite of its time. Was it early 2000s, I guess that was, wasn't it? And it was, that kind of literature and that kind of stuff was everywhere, wasn't it? And it was all a bit, I don't know. It wasn't very subtle. I think it was a bit much. No. Anyway, Casablanca. Then for the TV box set, Sopranos, well, I don't think anyone could argue with that. It was recently voted best TV show of all time. I never got to the end of it. I think I saw like 6 seasons of it or something, and I lost it. So it's very much on my list to get to watch that from the start because it's incredible. I don't think you've watched it, have you? Haven't you seen it?
No.
It's spectacular. Yeah. Again, it was 20 years ago, so maybe not anymore. I don't know. But I will go back to that. It is available. And an album choice, which is one that would certainly make you happy, was Chuck Berry, The Great 28. So it's a greatest hits, I suppose.
It is, but every single track is an absolute winner. Yeah. It's brilliant. It's one of my, when you get these polls on Twitter, it's like name a compilation album that's your favourite or anything like that. There's 2 that I generally come up with. One is a Hank Williams 40 Golden Greats or whatever it's called, I think. Yeah. And the other one is this one, Chuck Berry, The Great 28. No more. If you only need one Chuck Berry album, and that's it. Yeah,
it's all there. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Great stuff. So thanks for that, Tricky. Everyone listening, keep them coming in. This is we're getting a few of these. It's quite good. It's quite a good. Gets you thinking, and good to talk about. So that's good. On the subject of social media, or not, we have a friend of the show, Katie, who gave us a very big shout out on her. She does a radio show called Tally Ho Radio. So we've talked about it before. And she gave us a very good shout out. And she was heavily influenced by one of our podcasts from some time ago, where we talked about the second from last track on albums. Is it the weakest track on the album? And we did a bit of a deep dive on that. So Katie picked that up and ran with it from her perspective. It's completely different. She's talking about New Zealand music specifically on her show and a different generation to us and all that stuff. But I've got around to listening to it this morning, and it's great. Yeah, so thanks for that, Katie. It's really good. If you need any more, does that make us influencers now then? Because we did something in young people. I thought it was good.
No, I doubt.
I'll put it on my profile, influencer. Yeah, great. Yeah. That's not a job. So it's like thought leader on LinkedIn. What's that? Thought leader.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I'll go straight into my culture catch up, shall I? While I'm on a roll. So
go on then.
Done a bit over the last couple of weeks. So I talked last episode about this new album by the Lottery Winners, Anxiety Replacement Therapy. It hasn't been off my metaphorical turntable. I haven't stopped listening to it. That's going to be top of the list at the end of the Spotify Wrapped year. It's an absolute belter. It's a brilliant record. It's just full of joy, and it's one of them. You've got my wife had heard it in the background just the once, and I heard her earworming it the next day, kind of thing. The songs were in her head after one not even proper listen. Just brilliant pop music. It's great stuff. So can't talk highly enough about that. Album of the year so far for me by a mile.
Cool.
Another new album, which we talked about on our socials a wee bit, was the new Sparks album, The Girl Is Crying in Her Latte. Sparks albums, there's been a lot of them, obviously, and you know exactly what you're going to get, and you get it, and it's great. And it is exactly what it is. Do you know what I mean? There's no surprises. It's just Sparks, right? No one sounds like that.
Yeah.
And it's just
really solid stuff.
It's just what it is, and it's been quite an enjoyable listen. Great.
That's great.
I mean, well into their 70s now, those guys, right? And coming up with these melodies, full of energy. They're playing live at the moment, doing some big shows.
Yeah, I've seen Ron come out from behind his piano and do some dancing, which is it's quite alarming seeing Ron Mail do some dancing across the stage. But
I did see them live once.
YouTube and have a look at that. Did you? Wow.
I did. Cool. Back in the mid-90s, the Britpop era, there was a big. They were a support act. There was a big the Blur Mile End show. The legendary Mile End show, and they were one of the support acts at that show. So I saw them there. But it's a bit of a blur, so to speak. So a couple of other albums I gave a quick spin. I've got much to say other than they were again what you'd expect. So the new Everything But the Girl album. They've been away for a long time, and and it's just Everything But the Girl, isn't it? It's great stuff.
Tracy Thorn's voice just gets better and better as the years go by. It's just wonderful stuff, and they pitch it so well. It's somehow timeless, but it's got sort of those subtle modern touches and influences that they always manage to find. I fished out on the socials. I played Walking Wounded the other day, which is a brilliant record. And at that time, they just took these club influences and stuck them into their sort of low-key jazz thing, and it just worked like an absolute charm. Great. It's a great record, that one. Yeah, I think it'll be in my top 10 this year.
Yeah, but I need to give it a bit more time. But it's great. It's they're a great example of these days when you're making electronic music, you've got all these tools in your toolbox. You don't have to use them all. You know what I mean? Just a little pinch of spice is all you need. So very well done. The other album, which again I've admired his work for years now. Gaz Coombs has got a new album out, Turn the Car Around. Cool. Again, he's matured into a very mature artist, if you know what I mean, from where he started. He's still quite young, I think, because they were very, very young when they hit the scene. So he's probably, I don't know, just 40 or something, I suppose, I guess. I don't know. So, there's a couple of music things that I've had going on. TV, Ted Lasso. So that's finished.
It's finished.
It's finished. Has it finished? Though obviously not.
Will there be another one?
Will there be another one? Well, my thought was no. This is the. This feels like the end. This feels like the end. It's just the way it ended. But there was one little incidental thing that Mrs. picked up on that was could be a seed for a different type of next series, but I won't say any more than that. If there is another series, I think it's going to take a bit of a turn, but brilliant stuff, just brilliant stuff. Yeah, so and another thing is video games, which I don't ever talk about because it's not something I'm really into, but I've got an Xbox. Well, the kids have got an Xbox, we've got an Xbox, and twice a year we plug it in and switch it on, but I've been into it a little bit lately. It's a great game called Forza Horizon where you drive around the streets of the UK and doing street racing. It's great. But I just purchased FIFA 23, the latest version of FIFA, because I had FIFA 19 and I love it. I love FIFA. And the reason I bought it was because you can play as AFC Richmond as Ted Lasso in the game. It's built into the game, so all the characters from Ted Lasso are in the game. So that's good. And well, that's my culture catch up. But we've all come back. No, it's not. Sorry, I said we had a lot. Books, a couple of books. So I'm kind of halfway through the John Cooper Clarke book, as I talked about before. Great. I just bought a new book. Now it's called Sort Your Head Out, Mental Health Without All the Bollocks by Sam Delaney. Now Sam is, for those that don't know, he's a podcaster essentially now, but he's done some TV presenting. He's a journalist. He used to be the editor of Heat magazine back in the day, and he's been an addict, and he's not an addict anymore. And he's a bit of a hero of mine. I think I really enjoy all of his content. He's a top man, Londoner, West Ham fan. He does a couple of podcasts, the Reset podcast, which is about mental health, and he does the Top Flight Time Machine, which I've talked about on here before, and a couple of other podcasts as well. So that's what he does now. But yeah, if you're interested in mental health, I've heard it's a good book. I've only just started it. And speaking of West Ham fans, we'll come on to that later.
Blimey.
Sorry, you can speak now. Sorry about that.
No worries. That's good. Do carry on. Okay, a couple of new records. Well, one of them maybe not that new, but new to me. But I'll start with the new Jessie Ware album, who's sort of late night tales kind of singer. Dusky, jazz inflected soul and all that kind of thing. But has popped out an album called That! Feels Good! And it's just a straight 70s, 80s disco record.
Oh, brilliant.
That's the only way I can explain it. It's got all the touches. You recognise bits, string sections and rhythms and percussion, what have you. It's all there. And it's taken from club culture, and it's absolutely pitch perfect, if you like. It's just really good. Yeah. So I've been enjoying that as something a bit different. And the other one, I was completely divorced from that. I didn't come across it by any other means than I was getting involved in a bit of interchange on Twitter with a guy called Wally Salem. His Twitter handle is Wally TBM. Excuse me, getting a bit sniffly here.
Yeah, I got a cold as well today.
TBM stands for The Beautiful Music. And he has a little DIY record company called thebeautifulmusic.com, and there's a lot of beautiful music on it, and he sent me some of it. So I've got an album, thanks Wally, by Super 8, which is the nom de musique of a guy called Paul Ryan. And the album is called Hoopla, and it's kind of baroque pop, horns, strings, Beatley stuff going on, that kind of thing. And it's really good. And there's also, and here's the free thing I mentioned earlier on, there's a free various artists' covers album downloadable from that website called 15 Beauty Tips for Modern Music Lovers.
Oh, great stuff.
And I haven't quite got into that yet, but it is a covers album, so the chances are there'll be songs that everybody knows on that record. So thanks, Wally, for that, sending me that. And everybody can get in and get that covers album and see what the whole record label is about.
Brilliant.
That was cool.
Yeah, good
all
stuff.
Good. Books. I have started. Let me see if I can. Is that shiny or is that not shiny?
No, we can get it. Yeah, we've got it just about. Oh, Bob
it's
Stanley.
Bob Stanley.
Yep.
Let's Do It, The Birth of Pop, which is popular music from roughly the 1900, I guess, 1900 to 1950, sort of pre-rock and roll, if you like. So it's, I don't know, ragtime, musical, jazz, wartime tunes, dance bands, swing, trad, jazz, blues, for anything that sold a bazillion records before the dawn of rock and roll, if you like. So names like Scott Joplin, Irving Berlin, George Gershwin, Louis Armstrong, Judy Garland, Frank Sinatra, all that stuff is in here, and how massively popular it became. And I've sort of about a third of the way through that so far. And like all Bob's music books, it just makes you want to go away and listen to loads of stuff. Playlists can be created, and probably have been for these kind of books. And I could mention is that his latest book, which is out now, I think, is a biography, a full-scale biography of the Bee Gees.
Yes,
I don't think there's ever really been one of those, but
I've heard that's brilliant as well. Yeah,
it will be great.
Yeah.
It will be absolutely wonderful. So I think that's all my sort of culture catch-up-y affairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Should we talk about football? We don't do that very often because it's not really what we are, but I think we've both.
No, it's not really what we are, but we can both talk about that. I need to just sort of do a quick monologue. Yeah.
Oh, I can hear your motorbikes outside. I can hear your motorbikes outside.
Yeah.
For those that don't know.
For those that don't know, I live opposite the Hells Angels.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So you've got your shirt on.
I've got my shirt on.
Because you won stuff.
Vintage, because we won a trophy, West Ham, that is. For those that are not looking, I've got my old West Ham shirt on. Still fits.
Yeah.
We won a trophy. The Europa Conference League. Which might not be a lot to some of you, but we haven't won a trophy since 1980, since I was a very young boy. It's really good. So that means we're back in Europe next season again. That's 3 years in a row in Europe, which is really good. I think this might make David Moyes our most successful manager ever, technically.
Yeah.
Whether you want him sacked or not, we've won this tournament unbeaten, by the way, 13 matches, unbeaten.
Yeah.
I think we only drew 2. I think we won 11 out of the 13 matches. So, the league position wasn't great, but we won a cup. So that's good. And I was just watching the videos this morning of them doing the open top bus parade back home, right on my old stomping ground where I grew up around Stratford Broadway. So, very, someone's been chopping onions around here over the last couple of days. It's been quite emotional, but it's brilliant. So come on, you Irons. And your team have done pretty well too.
Well, 2, in fact.
Sheffield
Wednesday have gained promotion with the semi-final and the playoff final, possibly 2 of the most dramatic finals.
Yeah.
In anyone's history, to be honest, to come back from 4-0 down on a 2-leg final and win that was astonishing enough. And then we only went and won it in practically the last dying moments of that playoff final. Whatever the ins and outs of who played well on the day and that kind of stuff, we got a load of points during the season, and almost pretty much deserved to go up anyway. Unfortunately, we did, and that's good. And let's see how we go in the championship next year.
It's a good league. The championship. It's a good league. It's good fun. The championship, because there's some good teams in there. Yeah,
there are. And the other quick mention for my hometown club. FC Halifax Town, who didn't do very well in the conference or whatever it's called these days. I can never remember, National League. But they did win the FA Trophy at Wembley. Hurrah!
Great stuff. Brilliant.
So good on to them as well.
Yeah,
that's the second time they've won that.
Good stuff. Yeah, so a bit of football content.
Apologies for not wearing either shirt, Halifax or Wednesday. I have my Green Party hoodie on at the moment.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a bit cold.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. I'll put this on. I thought, oh, bloody hell, so I've got a blanket over my knees. It's -2 down here today. It's it's bloody freezing. So there we go. Never mind. So that's it. I think that's it. I've done everything on my list. I feel like we got through that really quick, did we? Or was it
pretty quick because
time
we've
flying
raced
when you're having fun? I don't know.
if anybody requires any more detail on any of that, then send us a message. But we've got one or two more things. I got a fun fact.
Oh, yeah.
Is that yesterday was the 35th anniversary of Bob Dylan's never-ending tour, which is, as it describes, Bob's never not touring. And it started on June the 7th, 1988. And in betweenst that time and now, he has played a subtotal of 3,067 gigs.
Wow.
The last one was Madrid yesterday, I think, all over the world, of which I saw one of them. Hurrah. So there, fun fact.
That sounds a bit tiring, doesn't it?
Hardest working man in show business.
Yeah. Sounds like hard work, that.
It's no wonder that people complain, wrongly, in my opinion, that he changes his songs. If he played 3,067 gigs, you'd want to sort of tinker with the arrangements a little bit, wouldn't you, after a while? So,
but you know, they've all got the same melody now, though, haven't they? All of them.
Yeah, they're all blues songs. No, it's not true. No. But yeah, so that was a fun fact. And what else have I got? I've got loads of things. How many minutes have we done? Anyway, we say blah 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 blah. We said goodbye to a couple of interplanetary class people in the music field. Cynthia Weil, who with Barry Mann wrote many classics. It's a bit like we were talking about Holland Dozier Holland and Burt Bacharach and all that stuff. And I did quickly on our YouTube channel throw up about a dozen songs, which included on Broadway, We've Got to Get Out of This Place, You've Lost That Loving Feeling, Saturday Night at the Movies, Walking in the Rain, and many more. It's a fantastic songbook. From Cynthia and Barry. And the other guy, which I kind of have a bit of a personal connection with, one of my mates from school, John Spencer. Hello, John, wherever you are. A little bit older than me, so as is usual, you know, you get to hear things that are not quite yours, but they were definitely his. And he had a Groundhogs album called Thank Christ for the Bomb. And Tony McPhee of the Groundhogs passed away the other day. And yeah, the Groundhogs are great. They weren't particularly well known. They supported bluesmen who visited the UK in the early days. Specifically John Lee Hooker. There's some video on YouTube of them doing that. That Thank Christ for the Bomb album and Split, which was, I think, the one before, are great. But they weren't quite down the Black Sabbath sort of path. They weren't quite Hawkwind. They weren't quite blues rock. They certainly weren't prog. But it sort of glued all that stuff together and came out something a little bit unique, but maybe not so notable. But those two albums are fantastic, and we'll put a John Lee Hooker clip up on our website. So it's quite sad to hear that.
Yeah. I just remembered something I saw the other day on Instagram. The new Blur album, I think. Have you seen the vinyl pressing, the fancy vinyl? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, it's sort of funny, kind of.
It's sort of animated when it's spinning.
Animated. Yeah.
Is that a thing? Has anyone done something like that before, or am I just?
I once bought a Stranglers single which had some kind of weird coloured. I don't know where it's gone. I still haven't got it. I think it was something Better Change, and it had something, and it said basically that in typical punk fashion, if you stare at the 45 and it's going round, it will make you feel ill.
Yeah.
And it had some kind of funny swirly. And I tried it, but it didn't really.
Yeah.
But it did have some kind of weird animated thing going on.
Right, okay.
So I think it's been done before, but maybe not quite as well.
Yeah, it looks brilliant, doesn't it?
That looked,
yeah. So we'll try and find a link to that and put that up. But yeah, it's like people swimming around the record and stuff. Sort of it's the album cover brought to life on the record. Very clever.
Yeah.
Not great for me. I don't have a record player, so I'd have to try and spin it on a pencil or 33 to try
I do, but not, as I've said before, I'm not one for coloured vinyl, really. I don't think it sounds quite as good as the black stuff, but that might be just a prejudice of mine that's no longer valid. But
right, so one day we're going to do a blindfold test live on the podcast.
with a coloured one and a black.
Yeah, put it to the test. Yeah. I don't know what colour they use on Spotify. I'm not sure.
No.
Yeah, what colour MP3s they use. No. Yeah, good stuff. All right, I'm out. Are you done all your list? I know you had loads of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff.
Done it, haven't you?
I've got something. I have got something for last time. It's basically about filmmaking in the North and various films and connections with me, basically. But just to trail that slightly is that I hope to have watched by the time we get around to next time the Ben Myers. The dramatization of Ben Myers' novel, The Gallows Pole, which has been filmed by Shane Meadows, who
This Is England.
Did This Is England, and it's set in the valley where my parents live, and I spent a lot of time. So I'm going to watch that. I'm going to come back and extol the virtues of filmmaking in the North, because there's an awful lot of it's gone on. We've had Happy Valley mentioned over the past. Lots of things have gone on up there. Almost a little sort of developing industry in that kind of area. But I've got some personal stuff to chuck in as well. So we'll do that next time around after I've managed to track down some episodes of Gallows Pole.
Oh, so it's a TV series, is it?
It is, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes.
Do you know is it on Channel 4 or BBC or something, is it?
I forgot to check.
Okay, no worries.
Is it a BBC thing? I think maybe it is. But we'll see if we can find that somewhere.
Oh, yeah, I'll have a look for that. Yeah, good stuff. Brilliant.
Right.
Okay. We'll let these people get back to their lives.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for listening. Our numbers are going good. We're doing all right at the moment. I think we're starting to get a few more new listeners, so please spread the word.
That always helps if you subscribe and tweet and
hit subscribe.
Retweet and
all those things.
Tell other people about things.
Yeah, we've got the YouTube, obviously the YouTube channel. For those that don't know, they haven't listened for a while. This is now on YouTube. The last few episodes we're now filming them, so you can go to our YouTube channel, Only a Podcast, and you can look at us as well as hear us.
You don't have to download any fancy apps to see that, because you've probably already got YouTube.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So cool. I reckon I'm going to say goodbye, Captain.
Yeah, goodbye, Captain.
See you later, folks. See you next time.
Bye.